Welcome to the Lockdown Economy, a social non-profit initiative by the think tank AlterContacts to help small businesses and self-employed professionals overcome the challenges of the pandemic and reactivate the economy. My name is Karen Rickes, and today my guest is Tessa van Keeken. Tessa is the founder of both Lift Your Spirit by Tessa van Keeken and TVK International Communication and Language Consultancy. She moved back to the Netherlands in 2018 after having lived in Ireland for 15 years. She has a background in social studies, international relations and conflict studies, transformational coaching, and healing and meditation. Hello, Tessa. How are you today?
Hi, Karen. How are you? Nice to
I'm
be
good.
here.
Yeah, we're really glad to have you here because, Tessa, this is actually your second interview with the Lockdown Economy already. For those of our viewers who have not been with Lockdown Economy before, could you tell us a little bit more about Lift Your Spirit?
Yeah, and actually that was one of the things that has happened during this whole lockdown period since I last spoke with Julia on the interview at I think that was one of the first interviews of the Lockdown Economy project. That actually one of the things I did during this time was changing the name of my business a little bit. So Lift Your Spirit, I really set up originally when I lived in Ireland still, and it was really around holistic therapies and also coaching and healing. But because I changed really my format around in the last few years, so I've actually changed it to Key Wisdom Center. I still lift people's spirits, at least that's the aim of it, but so I changed the name of the business a little bit. And yeah, what else do you want me to tell you about it?
Well, maybe you could tell us a bit more. So you said that you sort of, changed the name to maybe also put different things to the center of attention, or what's sort of now your main focus with the business?
Yeah, I think like one thing that really, and this was a combination of my own personal and professional growth and of the business, and also a response to what I noticed that people really need, or at least what the people in my students, my clients need, and what I can really contribute to helping people, is really this. Like especially it comes to the fore during this crisis time, during this lockdown, if you like, that there is such an amount of fear, really, right? People people struggle with the reality that we're living in. Like people use all kinds of reasons and opinions around whether what governments do is the right thing or whether the problem is as big as it seems or not, and all these things. I don't want to go into that because that's a whole other discussion. But underlying to that is what you see is people are fearful. People are afraid of the uncertainty. People are struggling with accepting that things are as they are in this moment in time, and that things could be different, but right now this is what it is. So my focus is more on supporting people to see that if you go into your own inner wisdom, if you tap into that, if you are more connected with who you truly are, what's important to you, and how you can express that in the world, to see that being really with you is like being aligned to yourself is always in relation to, so that you have to be in that connection with your surroundings and the wider world, that acceptance, that accepting of what's here right now doesn't mean you don't create change. Because I think, that's one of the great things of this project as well, right? That we're all looking to make a difference. We're all looking to make the world a better place. We want, and again, whatever your opinion is, whichever way you want that to go, it is about creating that change. But if it's coming from fear, if it's coming from that either what is going on is wrong, or you feel that other people are wrong, or governments are wrong, or whatever else it is, it's coming from a place of, it can come from a place of struggle, of fighting, of anger even, and it can create a lot of disconnect and a lot of disharmony. And when we go more to a place where we first start with like, what's here for me, what's really here, what am I really struggling with, and then coming to a place of embracing your own life, embracing yourself, and then looking at what steps you can take to create change, either just in a very small circle in your own little world or in the wider world. Then it comes from a more compassionate space. Then there is space for mutual understanding, and then there's a real space for collective growth, collective healing as well. So that has kind of changed a little bit. So that's why I chose Key Wisdom Center, and because I still work a lot with ancient wisdom, especially from Japan, and the word ki is spelled ki. It's a very versatile, interesting word in Japan. Most people, if they know it from this idea of that it's like the Japanese version of ki, like QI, the universal energy or life force energy or whatever you want to call it. But in Japanese, it also means your essence. It also means the head, the heart, and your soul. In Japan, they talk about your hara, we know it as gut or intuition as well. So I think it's really interesting that for me, that word in itself kind of is the epiphany of alignment. And I think when people are in that space, that just creates that they are able to stay really calm and connected, and also that they can feel really peaceful even when there's challenges.
Yeah, that sounds great. So you really sort of embodied in that name change sort of your attempt or your vision to really allow people to make that connection with themselves, integrating diverse influences. That sounds really good. Well, in the spirit of that and sort of these changes that you've been making, how has then the pandemic affected your business over the last couple of months since we last spoke?
Yeah, so I think like it's been really clear, like it was interesting. Last year when we spoke, it was really clear that having an online business in a way was a very good thing, and that more and more people were getting used to being online. By now, I think there's very few people, at least if they're watching this, that don't know what Zoom is or how it works or a Zoom meeting and all these kind of things, whereas before there was a lot more explaining, and also that people were still a little bit comparing meeting online to meeting in person and kind of saying, yeah, but it's not the same, and I want this. And I think an element of that is still there, but I think now it's nearly turned the other way around. People have become so used to being online that sometimes it's like, oh, not another Zoom meeting, right? Or it's not that they have realized that it's very possible to connect and even feel connection on a Zoom meeting, but it's like it's a lot. There's so much online now, like, and if people now spend for their work, you hear people who have 6, 7, 8 hours of Zoom meetings on a day. So to then also have your coaching or healing or meditation, or even you're connecting with friends or with like-minded people to just have conscious conversations or anything, it just feels for some people there's also a real desire again to be offline. I think which is interesting. And one of the things I actually help people with as well is to deal with Zoom fatigue, because there is ways, again, if you're more grounded, if you're more less really diving into that Zoom call, but also really staying connected with yourself, but also just being grounded, that there is ways of being able to do a lot more Zoom calls when you think without feeling too fatigued. But that is one change. I would have even gotten some people who said, yeah, I would love to do more of this, but can we do it by phone? To actually do a phone call without video, which is interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that is one really big change. I think that there is ways of how to deal with Zoom calls, of how to deal with the online world.
Yeah, very interesting. So that you were actually.
So one other way that it's really affected me, what I'm more sad about, is that I do also some work for a local charity that supports people with, as they call it very kindly, distance to the labor market, which means they just have some struggles mentally or physically that prevent them from fully integrating in society. And what I did with them was going for walks where we would do some meditation, some contemplation, and also some deeper coaching, supporting work. And because of all the restrictions, that's been had stopped for a long time. Like we're obviously not allowed to meet with many people outside even. So that is starting a little bit with, luckily here we have a little bit loosening of some restriction, especially for these kind of social projects. So that's really nice. But that's had a big impact, I must say, over the last couple of months since we last spoke. And I think that's an aspect that is less mentioned, that those people who really would not be able to go on to Zoom or going online, how much isolated they got and how much they missed out on the support they really need.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good insight. I think that's probably something a lot of people can relate to, sort of, yeah, this feeling of maybe getting lost in all these Zoom meetings, as you mentioned. So I think it's great that you, yeah, offer sort of some solace in that, actually helping people to sort of get through that. But you also mentioned that you have sort of quite some other things in store for your customers. For example, last time you mentioned that you were developing a podcast, for example. So finding other ways to reach your customers. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I have been running a podcast with a colleague of mine for a long time. And actually, because of people getting so overwhelmed by so many things online, we paused that for a little while, but we're restarting that. But my biggest input or change or whatever you want to call it was that last time we spoke, I had just launched my membership program for people, and that's now really up and running. That's been running now for like, well, yeah, so nearly 6 months or like a little bit longer even by this stage.
That's great.
So that at the time, the name has changed a little bit. It's called now the Inner Wisdom Circle, and it's growing again. So that is really the main membership offers weekly meditation and reflection sessions, and also monthly conscious conversation sessions. So this membership really is about bringing people that are either purpose seeking for themselves or for the impact they want to make in the world, who are realizing that to have your own practice in spirituality and mindfulness, in conscious living, that you need community, that you need a space where you can safely practice, also as an anchor for your own personal practice, but also a space where you can really look at like that all these kind of practices, that they only really work in changing the way you live and the way you relate to others and the world, is if you know how to practically implement it in your daily life. So that's really the bigger aim of this membership, is of giving people a way of saying, yes, it's all nice to be sitting saying Om, which by the way we don't really do, but what people often think of in meditation, but that really the meditation is just a tool. The real practice that this membership offers is to help you to find a way of actually being calm and connected during challenging times. So actually, how do you deal when it's actually in daily life? And that can be even on a Zoom meeting. How do you stay connected? How do you stay with yourself and the other people? And I'm expanding that now specifically in the slightly deeper programs for, I call them change makers, but I know not everyone knows the word or really uses it. But for me, that's like, it can be coaches, can be healers, consultants, but anyone who really feels their work is in service of making the world a better place. And to realize that, you know, your own journey of self-development, spiritual development, professional development is also a long life journey. Like that journey never ends. It's both circular and ongoing, and you can always go deeper. So now specifically for that group, I'm starting a movement where there's elements of where we can come together and provide intervision. I think that's not used internationally very much. It's very much in the Netherlands. It's very common for any type of profession that besides supervision, you also need intervision among peers. So that's partly what it offers. And also I would offer some guidance around for those who want to go deeper into the journey of really growing together, growing personally, and seeing that to bring transformation in the world, you always need to continue your own practice as well. So yeah, so I'm really, really excited about doing that too.
Yeah, I can imagine. It sounds really great. So that you have really a lot of offers out there for your customers, for your clients, that they can respond to whatever they might be needing most at the moment. So sort of coming from that position, what is sort of your outlook for the future? How do you think, yeah, the next couple of months will evolve for you?
Yes, well, it's nice that I'm in a sunny place, but I need to move a little bit. Yes, I think it's for me personally, it's this growth. I think it's also starting to do, like, as I said, slowly, locally do a little bit more offline again as well, as long as like Corona permitting. But I think, yeah, it's this growing. I think my main thing is I see it more and more. We need to work more towards a global community and seeing that, it's not about overcoming differences. Differences will always exist. And I think it's really around creating more understanding, creating more mutual understanding, and to also understand that to be compassionate or to yourself or others, or to accept people, doesn't mean you have to agree, doesn't mean you can't be different, but that coming from, and doesn't even mean that you can't try to change things if you really feel like, that there is a better way of doing things, but that it's coming from a place of understanding and realizing that however far and detached someone or something or a government, as I said, may seem from you, in the end, we are all connected and we are all one community. So we need to find a way of being together and making sure that together we create a space where everyone feels safe, where everyone feels they can be who they really are, as I said, in relation to the world, in relation to each other as well. So for me, I see myself growing that, like you said, the next couple of months, this is more like, again, probably a lifelong journey. But yeah, so I think it's growing that. It's really bringing people together and do as much as possible, contribute to that. And again, I want to you as well, and Julia, of course, that I do think this project, like the LockdownEconomy project, is one of those examples, right, of bringing people together, but also giving people hope. I actually think that's maybe the best thing to say for the next couple of months, to see that hope that the world isn't falling apart. We are still all here, and it may be tough, but you see so many creative initiatives that even during these challenging times, already it's possible to feel more aligned, to feel more connected, but also by having these kind of initiatives that it makes the now better, and also it creates opportunities to make things better, like to create change, so that in a couple of months or even years, if that's what it takes, that there will be a better presence.
Yes, very, very well said. And yeah, as you said, of course, we as LockdownEconomy hope that we can make our small contribution to making things easier at this time. And speaking of, my sort of last question to you today would be, in everything that's coming ahead and what you're doing at the moment to make the most of the situation, could you maybe name 3 things that you could use help with?
Yes, I actually saw that question. I was like, oh gosh, yeah, what do I need help with? And I know, like, people in my world, like the first thing they often say is, of course, like, making sure to be visible or get people to find me, those who this resonates with. And that's the easy one. But no, I think what I looked up was I think one of the things is actually these kind of initiatives. I think this community, I know I offer it, but at the same time I need it too, right? So I think it's about, for me, it's focus. Like, I definitely am very much driven to make the world a better place and to make changes. And sometimes I want to do it all at once and everywhere. So to really have that focus of picking one thing at a time. So of course I have my own work in that, but also looking with others. So to have collaborations with like-minded people, to bring that focus to light, to see, okay, what is the first thing we can do together that makes an actual change right now? Yeah, I think that's a very important one. And in a way, that's two things already, right? It's the focus I need, but also to find that connection with the right people. I think one thing with the online world is now there's so much out there. There's you know, you can connect, again, you can connect to everyone. Think of LinkedIn or wherever, right? So it's to within that filter and actually make sure there's also yeah, linking in with those people that will form the right group for me to have the biggest impact in the world. So yeah, so that's another one, finding the right people to create that collaboration with. Yeah, I think that's really the most thing. And the last thing is, yeah, I do actually need also some support around, you know, visibility, in the sense of like these kind of interviews. When I talk to people, I just, for me, it's also, I light up. This is my passion, and sometimes I'm not quite sure, you know, where to start to bring that message into the world. So yeah, maybe that's a selfish need, but still a need.
Still a need, indeed. Thank you so much, Tessa, for sharing your insights with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Tessa, do you have any last words to our viewers out there?
Well, first of all, to thank you, Karen, and again, Julia as well, because I know she has done so much work to set this all up. To, like, when I talked to her last year as well, if you see that growth from it being such, yeah, a relatively small initiative to this huge global UN approved initiative, which is just absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for doing this, because I think it's a huge contribution for yeah, so many people out there who can do with some uplifting conversations and support, I think. And yeah, the last other thing is just, like, you know, if this message resonates with you, if you do feel that you sometimes are a little bit all over the place, or if there is things you want help with reconnecting to who you really are, or using your own inner wisdom as your compass, as guidance in your own life and in the impact you want to make in the world, then feel free to reach out. And whether that is, you know, joining my community or just reaching out for a collaboration or chat, I always love connecting with everyone. So if in any way this resonates with you, just reach out to me, and would love to hear from you.
Excellent, that sounds good. Feel free to contact Tessa using any of the links in the description of this video. I invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. On our channel, you can find many more insights from entrepreneurs in many different countries and business sectors. So please have a look and stay tuned.